We've taken to the road. We're on a mission to interview successful entrepreneurs. 90% of startups fail, and we want to help change those stats. Next stop, Manchester. Lee from AmeriCamp explains the 4-hour theory and who really is entitled to being called an entrepreneur. Where do you see companies going wrong when it comes to raising money?
Well, I think first and foremost, it depends whether or not you need to raise money in the first place. Because should we be concentrating on sales or actually concentrating on investment? And okay, I appreciate it very much depends on the nature of the business.
Yeah.
But actually, my bread and butter, dare I say, the travel brands and the events companies that I've been with, or the publishing houses that I've been involved with, is that I felt as though I didn't need huge amounts of money to get it started. And what I find is that instead of people concentrating on sales and growing the business, they concentrate on trying to get somebody else's money.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess the question is what is that fine balance? Now, of course, if you're trying to create a ridiculous company like a rival to Airbus or Boeing, well, of course, it goes without saying you're going to need huge amounts of money, seed money, etc., etc. But actually, ask yourself the question, if your life depended on it, do you really need that investment, or do you think you can get enough favours from people, or do you believe in yourself to borrow money from different people? But there's too much of it's a real big problem in Manchester, I think, as well, is that everybody's concentrating, celebrating the fact that they're getting funding. Well, you've got to pay it back at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing. But you know what, the mindset of some people, so let's take a travel brand, all right,
Sure.
for instance. Someone launching a travel brand that has a raising mindset, if you want to put it that way, say, travel brand, I need marketing, I need people to travel, I need people to sign up, I need people to go on these trips. I need money, I need capital, and people won't even attempt to do it unless they get capital.
Which I think is ridiculous. I mean, one of the ways that I grew my AmeriCamp brand was that I was looking for what key search terms people were talking about, and then I would start conversations with people. So the only cost to that was my time. So whether that be over Facebook, over Twitter, if certain people were saying they wanted to go and work at a summer camp in America, or if they wanted to go on a trip to Amsterdam or something along those lines, is that the most cost-effective form of advertising was me personally actually speaking to this potential customer. Whereas that mindset of, say, someone's got loads of money, be like, oh, that's below me, I'll just spend it on Google Ads. Well, actually, that's the easiest thing you can do. What you've really got to do is put the hard work in and actually in the very beginning be a jack of all trades, because actually it's your money.
Do you think, I think a lot of companies make it too difficult for themselves, right? Because for argument's sake, it goes back to the point of some companies might just need a laptop and a phone and off you go. And it's just like your time after that, where everyone is just seeing that you need to raise money to do this, you need to raise money to do that. 90% of that money is either going back to Facebook or Google anyway, right? So like, if you think like raising money at the beginning is relatively new, right? Where years ago people would just start up a company, there was a gap in the market, they had an idea and off they went, and they started bringing in money quite fast. Now you see companies that they're in business for 3 years without making any money.
Which is crazy, which is absolutely crazy, because, I mean, for me, I was a reluctant entrepreneur, and I actually hate the word entrepreneur because it sounds so pretentious. It's for other people to class you as an entrepreneur, not for you to turn around and say, look at me, I'm this, I'm that. Because let's be frank, I think it became fashionable after Dragon's Den or Shark's Tank, especially in America, with a lot of the stuff that I deal with. When the reality is that what you're trying to do is you're trying to make £2 by spending £1, and you bring it down to the basics. No different to what is, dare I say it, a tuck shop type mentality when you're actually in school. Absolutely. But what you don't want to be doing is actually doing things that actually saying to yourself, well, do I really need to pay for that person? Can I do it myself? I mean, for me personally, is that I never had major investment. You know, what I had was I had my LPC loan, which was about 12,000 quid. 8 grand of that went on rent and bills and everything else like that. And I basically had a core £4,000 with my business partner. And we said, right, we're going to make this work. And I thought to myself, okay, what do I need? I need a website. I need a marketing strategy. I need a logo. Okay, well, as a starting point, who owes me a favour? Right, well, I know a designer who owes me a favour. Nikki, you remember when I did this for you? We did a logo. Okay, Lee, no problem. Website. Aki, I need a 4-page website. Nothing major, but it's a website. Oh, okay, mate, no worries. And the thing is that I'm a great believer. If you're good to somebody, if someone's good to me, I'll be great to them. Yeah. And I'm a great believer that actually, if you've done something good for somebody, then actually at some particular point you should get that receipt back.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And
Exactly.
whereas the easiest thing to do in the world is spend money, especially if it's not your money, because then you don't value that money either.
Yeah.
I think also if someone had money, they go, ideally, what would I like to have in the business? Like, oh, I need a new office, I need a new laptop. It'd be great to have someone to do this, it'd be great to have someone to do that. It'd be great to spend 10,000 on a website rather than 1,000. So that they kind of get a little bit carried away when putting estimates together of like, right, what do we need to put this company together? And you'll put all the nice to haves together instead of like where we've interviewed lots of people in the past where they're going, some companies will come in here looking for $1 million, right? They don't get it. And then somebody actually turned around and said, look, I will help you out. What do you need to get this off the ground? And it's worked out at being like 16 or 20,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great point because people think they just need money. But I ask the exact, so when I'm doing like these Dragon's Den type events, is that I'll have these businesses that come to me and they, oh, we need this, we need that. Well, actually, what is it you need? Well, a lot of these people just need doors opening for them or contacts. So, for example, I've got an incubator space in my own office for Invasion Camp Group. Okay. Now, the reason why I did that was because I had so many fantastic entrepreneurs, young and old, by the way. You don't, that's one of these things where to be an entrepreneur, you've got to be young. No, you're never, you're never too old to do anything. And if you've got an idea, what do you need? Well, actually, sometimes you need to be able to speak to people and just ask their advice. Because that's what I felt as though I was missing when I was younger, is I wanted to speak to somebody who'd been there and literally made and bought the T-shirt. So if I'm, for example, making a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and one of the people in our incubator has got a quick question, they can put it in front of me whilst I'm making a cup of tea. And that advice might be worth a lot of money to them. But they may have spent that money on somebody else when they don't need it. So actually it's about immersing yourself in a set of circumstances in which people can help you. So it may well be you need a marketing team. It may well be that you need a developer. You might need a whole variety of things. Well, actually, is that cash money or is that the fact that you just need to be in the right set of circumstances? And I think that's what people need to think of more.
Yeah, we always tell the story about a company came in, a young guy, what was he, 19 or 20, with the fish flops?
Oh, yes.
Basically, flip-flops that look like fish, coddies, right?
Yeah.
And he came in and we were kind of laughing and joking. He brought us in, so we were trying them on. It was all funny on the show. And he makes £8,000 per month profit. And he's 19.
Fantastic.
And he lives in Thailand, right? And we live in the life. And he absolutely loves it, and he's really good at what he does. And the guy that came in after him, big fintech, $20 million in funding, and he laughed at the business. Oh, look, that's stupid. He's essentially $20 million worse off for raising that money. That he hasn't made a cent yet, and this kid's making $8,000 a month. I know which one I'd rather be.
Absolutely. And actually, and also as well is that for me, I love a good niche business. I'm all about the niches. So whether it be wrestling travel, AmeriCamp, Camp Thailand, Camp South Africa, I like brands that go alongside that Ron Seal advert from years ago that do exactly what they say on the tin. Because actually, from a marketing perspective, it makes it so much easier. Whereas if you've got a made-up word and then you're having to inform people on a constant basis what the connotations of what that actually is. Well, it might sound cool, it might sound edgy, but the reality is you need a huge marketing budget to then be able to get that out the door.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's something people don't think of in the beginning. They sit down with a whiteboard and go, what sounds jazzy, what sounds cool, what doesn't exist so I can get a .com, all this sort of stuff.
I was going to say, do you think a lot of companies now are putting themselves under pressure? Because, like, if you think of it, you're no longer like a big fish in a small pond anymore. You need to be like either a small fish in a big pond, right? Where people are thinking, they're thinking the next Facebook and the next Uber, right? That if they start a company, they're going to be global within the year, right? So they're not starting off where you would have started off years ago, like in Manchester, kind of going, how do I open up, let's just say a shop that's going to serve people in this part of Manchester, right? Now, like, it's a lot easier to kind of go, right, this is my geographic, this is what I'm looking after, where now people are starting off kind of going, right, everyone could use this product worldwide and I need to be global now. Is that where they're putting themselves under pressure?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with ambition. And I never want to say to people, you've not got the next Facebook, the next Uber. And I'm sure you guys have seen it even more than I have. But the amount of times that I've had, in inverted commas, entrepreneurs come to me and say, I've got the next Facebook. And literally I'm having arguments with them afterwards saying I'm really not trying to, I'm not trying, because I had people diss my ideas. I had Duncan Bannatyne say that I would never make it, etc., etc. If anything, that put a chip on my shoulder.
On Dragon's Den?
No, not on Dragon's Den, but in a private, like a media event it was. But for me, yes, that put a chip on my shoulder. So at the same time, I never want to say to people that you're your ambition is too high. But I do think that we've got to be realistic about it. I mean, it's like, for example, like obviously football team. So I'm one of my biggest passions, and I'm so fortunate to be a part of it, is I'm associate director of Tranmere Rovers Football Club. So for us, it's like, well, who's the next James Norwood? Well, the reality is there'll never be another James Norwood. There'll be somebody else further down the line, or whatever it may be, and we'll certainly try and replace him. But everyone's individual, and each business is individual. And everybody, from a business perspective, should be concentrating on what they're doing, not concentrating on what the so-called competition is doing. So, for example, we're in this fantastic van. If we're driving the van, well, if we keep looking in our rear-view mirror, at some particular point, we're going to be sideswiped. Whereas if we keep looking forward, we know what the direction's going to be. And I feel as though a lot of startups are always looking in their rear-view mirror, seeing what everybody else is doing and going, OK, well, if they're doing that, then we must be doing. We need to do this as well. And to be honest with you,
if you think if someone else is doing it, it must be right.
Exactly. And actually, in the very beginning for Invasion, we made that same mistake. One of our rival companies was a company called Outgoing Travel. They were the brains behind the snow bombing festival, and we were taking huge market share away from them in the weekend breaks market. So we were like, okay, well they're doing snow, we should do snow. Now the reality is, apart from going to some of the parties alongside the snow and ski clubs, which were fantastic, and I fully recommend, by the way, I'd never had any real experience of doing skiing, snowboarding or anything. But we thought, actually, maybe this is a market we need to go into. A lot of the students are talking to us about it. We put it all together and we thought, right, we've smashed this. Our first event is with Geordie Shore, MTV. Oh, really? We are going to absolutely smash it. Amazing. Huge disaster.
Really?
Huge disaster.
From what standpoint? Just didn't make enough money on it? Lost money?
We didn't know the market well enough. We didn't make enough money. The margins were nowhere near as good as they should have been, and actually trying to get it to the point where the dial would have changed. The reality is, I was so much better actually concentrating on some of the brands that I already had, because I knew full well that if I'd put that same amount of money into those brands, I would have got a certain level of return. Where it becomes difficult is at what point do you then stop that innovation? Because you've got to then continually innovate, because the people that stand still then all of a sudden are playing catch up. Now, the one thing with all of my brands is that we were the social media generation. You know, we literally created our businesses out of Twitter, out of Facebook. That's what we did, to the point where other people were just putting posters up on walls and thinking that that's all you needed to do. So we were a massive disruptor for the student travel market. But of course, I'm 36 now, and I know that what I like is not necessarily going to appeal to, say, an 18, 19-year-old. Now, TikTok is now being...
is about to say,
Well, you know, we launched the Tranmere Rovers TikTok for the Manchester United game. You know, we've done that. Well, yeah, we came second, but, you know, we won't talk about the score, but on a, phenomenal occasion for us, because 2 years ago we were playing Maidenhead United and then we're playing Manchester United. So, incredible. I appreciate I'm majorly biased, but, it shows you how far the club has come in a short space of time.
It's an interesting one. I met a friend of mine, and I think it's down to who you look up to, right? And I think there is this, especially where we're based in Shoreditch, it's just everyone just wants to be an entrepreneur. It's another word for unemployed a lot of the time in Shoreditch, right? and it's true. No offence to Shoreditch people that are watching, because sorry about that. But I met a friend of mine who had a business idea, the fintech one I told you about. Fintech idea, really clever, really niche. Which you said you liked, really niche idea. And he said the money in it isn't astronomical, but I think it needs to be solved. Blah blah blah. So I'm going to meet a guy that I was introduced to who exited a fintech business for 500 million. He made 500 million personally out of it. I'm going to meet him and run through it. Super excited about this idea, has connections to make it happen. And he met this guy, and he met me the next day. And how'd you get on? Good. I just don't think I'm going to do it. I said, why are you thinking you're not going to do it? And he goes, because he looked me in the eye and he said, this could be a £10 million a year business, but it will never be a £100 million a year business, so I'm not going to bother. I was like, you're not going to bother because this guy, you don't have 10 million quid now, it's just the mindset of, I'm not going to be on his level, so I don't want to do it.
It's one of those ones where, when it goes back to Facebook and the point you were making there on Facebook, is Facebook didn't start to be where they are now. Right, like when Facebook started, we were talking about this earlier, Harvard. Was to connect everyone in Harvard, right? And then it reached out to more Ivy League schools, and then it reached out to areas in America, and then he didn't start going, we're going to be this, right? Where every startup now is trying to start with that mentality of, we're going to be global, we're going to cover this, we're going to cover that, instead of going, can you just pick the niche? Because if you pick a niche and you're looking after something there, the rest will follow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned Facebook, because my AmeriCamp idea is that I didn't know what I was doing was basically going to be creating a business. So I was working at a summer camp in Massachusetts, which of course Harvard's in Massachusetts. So I was very much part of that Facebook generation from the very get-go because I was hearing it from people.
You were there at the time?
I was there at the time.
Oh, right.
So the reality is that there's me thinking I'm this cool English kid coming over. Do you want to add me on MySpace? Oh, no, my friends. No. The Facebook, and I emphasise the Facebook. That was basically where it was at. So straight away, we saw where it was all going. And it's funny now because everyone says, oh, I understand social media. Well, from a marketing level, there's a very, very big difference between being able to use social media for business purposes and using social media for personal circumstances.
Yeah.
And there's a big, big difference. And the thing is that, and when I say this word, it's probably the wrong word to use, but from a business perspective, is you've almost got to manipulate social media to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, they changed it now, but we were looking for all sorts of different innovative ways to market ideas. We were even using Tinder at one point.
Oh, really?
Because we were saying to ourselves, okay, what is the vast majority of our age group? What are they using? What are they doing?
Where are they? Yeah.
So what can we do to try and get some eyeballs on what we're doing through the platforms that they're utilising the most?
Yeah, well, that reminds me of a story I was taught when I was doing a digital marketing course. There was some guy in talking about there's 1 billion people on Facebook. You need to have your company on Facebook. And most people were, oh my God, really, 1 billion people on Facebook? Yeah, we need to do it. And there was one guy who was slightly older than everyone else there and goes, I don't give a shit how many people are on Facebook. My audience because he owned an auctioneers, he goes, my audience in Nace, are they on Facebook? Because if they're on Facebook, then I'll be on Facebook. But it was real kind of like good point.
Well, I've got a way, I do this in quite a lot of my talks actually, but I've got a real distinctive way of describing how social media sits. So imagine you're in the high street and you're walking down the high street.
Yeah.
Twitter is where you can read people's minds, because it's a live search engine for what people are actually talking about. And it may well be that they're touching on a trigger point that could be of use to your business.
Yeah.
The shops are Facebook. You're trying to attract people organically, but then you might have people that need to come out of the shop to try and stop them or give them something to entice them in. And then you've got Instagram, which is your billboards, in which it's your old school advertising, in which, oh, that looks good, that's great. And that for me is an overview. And then you've got Google AdWords, which actually is your person walking down the street, but all of a sudden it's your person holding up your golf sale sign, trying to divert the traffic to somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that for me is that's how I see social media in that form of being a high street. So when people say, oh, I need to be on Facebook, need to be on everything, well, that's fine. But actually, if you've not got a big marketing budget, what is going to be your best value for money opportunity? And for me, it was always Twitter. And that was one of the things that we were so proud about in the beginning, because all of my competitors, none of them were verified on Twitter. And I think it was 2010, 2011. We get that coveted blue tick, which for us was absolutely massive, because literally we'd taken a company with 4,000 quid and got it to the point where we were at the largest social media presence on Twitter. We were trending worldwide, and we ended up getting a blue tick organically. It was magnificent. It was amazing.
I think it's a good lesson. That's why we're really happy you came into the show today, because it's really important that the viewers see, and they want to start businesses and scale their businesses, that they don't get down saying I don't feel like I can raise that much money. That you can do it without it if you
just start
human capital in, you put your time in. You can.
But that's a great point though. Is timing. The amount of, and I keep using the word with inverted commas, entrepreneurs, because for me it's like I'm a chubby guy just trying to make it in the world. I don't want some Ponzi title, right? For me, is that if you really, really want to make it, you've got to be willing to put the hours in. The amount of interviews in which I was going into and people saying, Lee, what's it like to have an overnight success? And I'd be turning around to them saying, well, it's amazing how many sleepless nights I've had for an overnight success.
But that's all they see. They don't see the behind the scenes. They don't see you getting up early. They don't see you going to bed late. They don't see you working weekends. They don't see how many hours you work or don't work. All they see is of course you're going to get attention when you've been successful, and straight away the attention might turn on overnight. So people think that something's an overnight success.
Yeah. People have got to be willing to put the work in, and what people don't see is that for many, many, many years I was literally living on what I refer to as the 4-hour theory. As long as I had 4 hours sleep, I was good to go.
Okay.
And what would happen is I'd do that for about 3.5, 4 months, and then straight away I'd probably collapse for 2-3 days, and I'd go again. But I was so passionate, and I believed in what I was doing because I'm a bit of a history buff. I was reading all about what formed the J1 Cultural Exchange Programme, and I felt as though, and I appreciate this is my opinion, and not everybody out there in the industry will agree on this, but I felt as though there wasn't an organisation out there that really fit the bill of what this programme was all about. And I thought to myself, well, do you know what? If I can offer an opportunity in which people can get to the States and have an amazing time and actually have some genuine money in their back pocket to go to a baseball game, to go to Disney, to go to Florida, to go to California, whatever, then I've done my job because that's what the programme's about. And I felt as though that I didn't have that opportunity when I first looked at these programmes. So sometimes it's not just about the money, you've got to have the passion and the belief. Because when you're there at 2 p.m. on Idle Tuesday and you've literally got £2.70 to your name, that's when it becomes difficult because you say to yourself, well, actually, how much do I believe? Am I willing to go the extra mile? Whereas the mindset of a lot of young entrepreneurs, it seems at the moment, is I'm never going to be in that because I want a 9-to-5 job, I'm going to get some investment, and I'm just going to spend people's money instead of mine.
Yeah. Do you think it's, and this is, we're probably running out of time on this, but just one last question is, do you think people, because I see it all the time, people sit down and they force themselves to try and think of a business idea. Where can I make money? Where is there cash? What is everyone else doing? What business can I start? And is that not sustainable? As in, when it is 3 a.m. in the morning and you want to get to sleep and you're working on something because you think there's cash in it, but maybe it's not your passion, is that when it gets difficult?
Well, I think that goes back to nearly entitling yourself as being an entrepreneur. You know, like as in, I want to be an entrepreneur, so now you sit down kind of go, now all I need is an idea.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
people do it all the time.
Yeah,
People do it all the time.
You touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, well, look, Lee, first of all, thank you so much for getting in. It's great, and good luck with the game tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. It's obviously it was a massive weekend for Tranmere to play Manchester United and got Sunderland tonight, and and also as well, massive thank you to Mark and Nicola Palios, who, quite honestly, without those guys, I genuinely don't think there'd even be a Tranmere Rovers football club, and I say that first and foremost as a fan. So for me, it's pinch yourself territory. Love what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Enjoyed the video? Like to see more? Subscribe below.